Okay. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting, December 14th, 2022. It is 7:04 p.m. and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, we'll do the roll call, please. Jim?
Okay, let's see. Mr. Bodwin.
Not here.
Mr. Morrison.
Here.
Ms. Zoni.
Absent.
Mr. Pocock.
Here.
Mr. Lebenik.
Here.
Chairman Larry.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. We'll go for the approval of our minutes from the November 9th meeting.
So move. Second.
A motion and a second. Any changes, adjustments to the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are official with a vote of 4-0. And now we'll talk about the, assess the revenues and the expenses, if you would, please, Mr. Bode.
Sure. In front of you, you have the what we call the major ticket items and sort of an update through the month ending November 30, and what some of those variances appear to be. Right now, we're not showing anything that's on the revenue side that's looking bad right now, or I should say negative. But state grants get parceled out throughout the year. We haven't noticed any problems with those. We shouldn't, obviously. And the other revenues that you're seeing in front of you are the ones that have had decent size, I would say, variances through through at least November 30th of 2022, the fiscal year. So if there's any questions, obviously I'll try to answer them.
Any questions? Okay, let's look at the capital projects.
Well, the expenses as well. I don't know if you want to maybe just.
Or you mean?
Yeah, no, just before that is item revenues versus budget and expenses.
Okay.
Again, just the same, sort of the same characters as last time. Just showing you the very final column, all the way to the right, is what would the shortfall be if that average continued. So, again, if there's any questions on that, please give me a call or send me an email.
Any questions on expenses?
Start to transfer money.
Usually what happens is they'll transfer money from their wages, salary
Right,
account
right.
into overtime. That's for you to see the offset there. Obviously, if you look at highway parks, they had 5 weeks of leaf pickup, which has overtime. So obviously, if we kept those same 5 weeks throughout the rest of the year, we'd be in trouble. So we're not going. Well, I shouldn't say that. We hope without snow, we're not going to get into that issue. But
Exactly.
obviously, that was 5 straight weeks of overtime. That's why if you
Right.
carried that through the year. As for the PD. I have not checked with the chief, but usually they have to come in and do a transfer out of wages, usually second half of the year.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Any more questions on revenue or expenses? All right, we'll move on to the capital projects.
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I was going to try to get this out to you folks so you had a chance to look at it, but unfortunately I really didn't put the final touches on it till very late last night, or matter of fact, even wee hours this morning. So I distributed it to you. Basically, what this report shows is the projects in the capital projects fund, bookkeeping fund, that are, I will say, active and being funded and ongoing. And you're going to, as you trace that all the way back across, and you get to that unencumbered ending balance, the only thing I would caution you is that's the amount of authorization still left to spend. That doesn't mean there's cashola in there yet to spend it. So I tried to, and I think Amelia, I kind of copied her methodology because I thought it was pretty straightforward by including the very last column there of funding. I don't know if she did that, but I know she had that on a previous thing that I think went to you folks at least a couple years ago. So I saw that in some old minutes. But anyway, that gives you some type of an indication. If you just flip the page over onto page 2, you get a little bit of an index of what kind of shows you what those abbreviations mean. And just by maybe seeing some of that funding potential or funding source, I should say, that'll probably help you determine that, yes, there's bonds to be sold still, et cetera, et cetera. So
Some of these are open from inception, like LoCIP, right?
Yeah.
You never close.
that'll never go away.
LoCIP starts,
We
you
just keep
open it,
funding it.
and you keep
Town
putting
aid
money in
roads.
and taking money out.
Town aid roads, LoCIP, you'll see that road widening, we do that every year, so
Yeah.
that's
And
what they.
you'll see that like in that third column where it says funding 22, 23. Wide and resurface drainage, 500,000. Town aid road, 528,000. Those are ongoing, and they will continue to be ongoing forevermore. We're not going to change account numbers just because
When do they close? Like this DePaulo landfill from 1997. It's
all
still-
of them, Mr. Chairman, has its own little story. I can't speak to the DePaulo landfill, but the post closure. But we're required.
I can.
We're required to keep that. That goes back to when I was here 18 years ago.
Yeah, we're involved in a stewardship permit process in there. Just because a landfill is quote-unquote closed per deep, you still have stewardship, you have testing, and every once in a while, the DEP comes to us and says, there's a new chemical we want you to test for. Right now, PFAS is the chemical du jour, and so we're working closely with our environmental attorneys on that. But yes, that project will probably stay on long after you guys.
So the unencumbered balance represents an approved amount that hasn't been spent. Now, like you said, there may not be cash or intention to spend it, but that's the amount still left on the project.
Correct.
So if we ever went over if, for example, the DePaulo landfill, we have 150,600, if something costs 300,000, we'd have to go back to that item.
Correct. We'd have to fund another $150,000. That's cash currently. We have the C. You see the C in there, but I think in this particular case, most of that money will be spent for testing purposes and possibly if the state wants us to do anything else on it. But if more money is needed, then that line stays, but it has to be funded by another source.
Yeah. Those can be confusing. So if there's any, and I apologize, I just did not have the time to get this out to you a little bit sooner. I wanted to make sure that it was, as you can see, actually the spreadsheet goes from where I'm holding this sheet probably to Mr. Pocock. That's how long. So I have to take some of the columns or else it gets too confusing to see.
Jim and I spoke this afternoon, and the best thing to do is obviously we wanted to get it to you, and it's going to be on your next agenda, obviously. So it's good holiday reading. So obviously we would ask that you take a look at it, and then we'll be prepared to answer any questions that you have at your next meeting, because it's not fair to have you review it now because you just got it.
I do have a couple of very quick questions.
Right now, I believe there's zero balance in there. That is primarily funded by donations,
I
I
can
believe.
explain that. We had to remember we were pledged donations on that. So what happens is I had to appropriate the entire amount, and so we didn't spend the entire amount because I needed to have a line because we spent that, and now we're being reimbursed it by the two organizations.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
Well, a couple of things. Number one is obviously we have payments due the architect, payments due
yeah,
the
so,
construction
yeah.
manager, and of course we had testing being done there for environmental as well as our testing for the bore samples. So yes, that money's encumbered.
And the stipend for the interim library director is coming out of there.
We're giving him a sign.
I'm only kidding.
You graciously give me my same salary.
For the record in the minutes, that's only a joke. But again, if you do have any questions and you just want to compile them to bring them to the next meeting, this is a standing item on the agenda. If there's something that you want to discuss, please just please give us a yell.
No, it's good. It's good. Thank you.
Subcommittee reports, again, an emphasis on the financial aspects. Sewer Committee, Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, quickly. There's a couple of meetings since the last Board of Finance meeting. Three things. The first thing is we approved a expenditure of $60,000. This is for a company called Corrosion Probe to perform on-site quality assurance inspections for the tank lining repairs that have been performed by Mackenzie Services that was part of the build of the plant and is now being remediated because mistakes were made. It's $60,000. It's to essentially mostly give quality assurance to review of actual stuff that's being repaired by Mackenzie, but also they're in a repair sealer specification for the gunite filler that's going to be used. The company Mackenzie is put off working on the things that have to be remediated, the tanks, until April due to weather conditions. So that's the first thing. That's already gone to the town council. This was 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they've approved it, I see. Okay. Second is the West Queen pump station project. There are 3 items on that. There's 4 actually. One includes extending the contract time to finish the pump station. The reason for that is, well, supply chain issues, which is probably going to affect every single one of these projects next year. So that's 0 for extending the time, obviously. But there's 3 other minor changes that we approved. That's $13,230. And the third thing, quickly, something that we haven't approved yet. We've got a proposal from Ty and Bond to do inspection closeout services for the pump stations. All these pump stations I talked about, they're under construction by Kovacs. And the proposal is going to be based on hours used, not to exceed $39,000. It's an extension to the work they're doing, but because of the supply chain issues, the expanded for the project, we need to give Ty and Bond potentially more hours. They've got a proposal for $39,000. We're not going to, we didn't do anything with it. We're not going to do anything with it till after the beginning of the new year. Reason being is that Ty and Bond is developing some change orders as well, and we'll do it as a whole package deal next month. That's it. Any questions?
Just the $60,000 for the inspection, that was not a planned cost? It's something we did after the fact, work was being done, and we wanted to double check it?
Yeah. What happened was mistakes were made on a couple of things on the tanks. And obviously, you find it out as soon as you start. That money to repair that is obviously covered by the bond that covers us. So we don't have to pay for that. But we are paying for Corrosion Probe, which is essentially someone to keep an eye on it for quality assurance so nothing happens again. And that money is coming out of the sewers maintenance account.
Okay.
So it's just coming out of our regular budget.
All right, thank you.
There's a lot of stuff going on the sewer committee.
Yeah, always get the sewer and the garbage right. They used to say if you had a
right.
town, you do the sewers right, the garbage right, you're good. And we don't have any garbage, so it's all on the sewer.
Right.
Public Works, Mr. Pocock.
I'll make it quick. I've been choking to death here today. inspection went very well. They collected 7,685 tons compared to 5.
Trees are growing.
There's obviously more trees. But anyway, I just want to say that this, because of the weather, we were able to make a double pass at all 4 zones this year. So I positive feedback from the residents, our third-party contractor. And I assume the Public Works Committee did a good job.
No, but no, they did. I got to give them credit. They really supervised.
Weather was in our favor.
Yeah,
We
sure.
don't
How many
often get
times have we
6.
been able to do that?
I'm sorry?
How many times have we been able to do that in our history?
We
a
did it
double
last
pass?
year, too.
A double pass through all 4?
Yeah, but we had
Okay.
two seasons in a row where we had all 5 of our weeks plus week 6 without any issue with snow.
Okay.
What happens when we don't?
We get through all 4 zones.
Yep.
We was 2 or 3 years ago, we couldn't get through zone 1 again for the second time. Try and do is we keep else. We have our town crews reestablish and go out there and hit and finish.
So you
off
keep
zone.
working on it.
We'll work on it because what happens is when you have snow, it affects us on snow also. So as soon as we have a break, because there's always not always, but usually in January there's always a thaw, and you're able to get out and hit the areas you didn't do. We don't do zones 2 through 4 again, but we definitely try and get.
So that's following the process. How much, years ago, we used to have a lot of people calling in for special pickups, and we tried to get rid of that. Have we done a good job of?
Yeah, we did a good job because, like I said, the season was with us. So we had no issues. When you go both zones twice, or all the zones twice, then there's never been an issue.
No, I get that, but what happened, do we still get the one-off calls from people saying, can you come and pick up mine and mine? Yeah.
The standard line from my office is this, is that after we finish zone 1 the second time, the third-party crews go. So we have our own crews now. So if our own crews have time, they will spot zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4 again. And do it. If it snows, we can't do that. So our line is, we can't guarantee you, but if the weather holds out, we get rid of third-party crews, because that's dollars, and then we go with.
And the other option is they clean them up themselves, or,
We keep
and then transfer stations open on Fridays during the
Fridays and
period.
Saturdays, correct.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a couple thousand tons more. The baseball, the parking for Memorial Park. And also, Mrs. Dog Park, the sidewalks. The only other thing is really big that
Town Green Subcommittee. Notice that it's
Yeah, the stone walls.
stone wall, the walkways, there's different kind of lighting up there. We replaced the Christmas.
and also the students in the high school did a. That's open space. We had a meeting, executive.
Okay, here we go.
Can I
Oh,
punch
go
in
ahead.
one other thing is the bulky waste is now on every other set
Okay,
until springtime.
and that's the published calendar, right? That's.
Yeah, it's on
Right.
the town website, it's
Yeah.
on the highway website, please check it if you have any.
Okay, any questions on open space or public works? All right, move into self-insurance.
All right, self-insurance, quickly on where we stand in this year's budget. We have results through November. November was a good month. We were 1.6 million on a budget of just about 2.1, so $500,000 under. And for the year now through the first 5 months, we're about $600,000 under budget. Typically, the second half of the year is a little bit heavier than the first, so it's a good position to be in, but obviously far from knowing where we'll end. But the main point of the meeting was we had the self-insurance committee set the recommended level of funding at this point in time. We always do that at our meeting in December to give guidance to, obviously, the Board of Ed and the town side for fiscal year 23-24. So to level set where we are right now in the current fiscal year, we're at a net budget of 24.1. I can get into the details more, but the recommended net budget for next year is 28.9, so it's an increase of 20%.
Wow, that's quite a lot, isn't it?
A lot, yeah.
Okay, that's
Claims experience or claims are up significantly. Just a level set. So in the current fiscal year, where we had a net budget of 24.1. The claims portion of that was 26.3. The self-insurance committee had made an adjustment to that number, an offset based on kind of a best guess in terms of how much the experience was being impacted by some unique years, obviously working through COVID. We also recommended use of fund balance of $1 million. And if you remember the Board of Finance, we added an additional $400,000 from the fund balance. So that got us down to 24.1. This year, I'll say again, last year the claims costs were estimated at 26.3. This year the claims cost is estimated at 29.9. That's projected from our consultant. And the recommendation is to use $1 million from the fund balance that gets it down to the net budget of 28.9. So again, when you compare the 28.9 to the 24.1, it's right on a 20% increase.
Joe, if I may, but
Yeah,
with
please.
recognition, I don't mean to.
Yeah, no.
I'm a non-voting member of that committee, but with the thought, of course, that we have to kind of start high, and then as the budget process works down, especially for the Board of Ed, because they need numbers quickly, and then hopefully fine tune it a little bit down the road. But it's an ugly number.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I will just say, just to be clear, when you say start high, we started the recommended budget is the best information we have right now from our consultant. There wasn't, I think, to be clear, there wasn't any thought on the self-insurance committee to think that things will get better. We obviously hope they do. We'll have better information in several months. If you remember, the self-insurance committee can act on the budget up until March, and then it can do so after if directed by the council. So the budget was set at the consultant's recommended projected claims cost.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, no. I agree. Just in case there wasn't there wasn't anything added to be higher to hopefully have good news down the road. To the extent that there is good news or things improve in subsequent meetings, it would be, I think, at the self-insurance committee level, based on a better projection from our consultant. Obviously, when we get to our Board of Finance workshops and discussions, we have other levers that we can discuss.
I'm starting to think we might want to consider having a workshop soon ahead of the budget, just to start to keep track of the items that are significant, so there's no surprises. This being one, if there's any fuel issues, supply chain, any issues that are going to have the increase in debt, all the stuff we talked about last year, we should just start to keep track of the headwinds we're going to see in this budget and start the conversation earlier than our normal planned workshops, just to know what's coming our way. I don't know if everybody feels the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
There could be, 10 of these items that we should be aware of, and this is a new one.
It's a $4 million swing.
Yeah, this
It's
one.
4 million, give or take.
But then how many more?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, yes, the other thing is going to dwarf the fuel issue.
Yeah, this is huge. But then the question, big on its own, but then you look at all the other stuff. We ought to start keeping score.
Well, we've, as you know, we've been discussing, don't use a lot of oil much anymore. Coming off a very good contract. That's the devil contract. Where does that leave us? We had a great 2 years, 2.5 years, but yes, that's a big number.
When does
Yeah.
Maybe-
a new
Well,
contract?
we speak at least once a week with our energy consultants. Does not feel now's the time to lock in. Spring may be the best time to lock in, so therefore, him, myself, Christina, and Amelia have talked about what we're giving our department heads. Not going to be locked in numbers, but they're going to be our best estimate.
And how much do we lock in for on the quantity?
Well,
3/4 of it? I mean, it's a 2-year, right?
well, the 2-year one last year, I think we were at
It was
85.
half a year.
One we had prior to this was 20. I think he's asking what the volume is, and I think we locked in about 80.
So most of it.
Most of it.
Most of it, yeah. They don't leave too big of a tranche to,
Okay.
subject to price fluctuations,
Yeah, we wouldn't
which
want
might
that.
kill us.
They want us to lock in with as much as possible.
Who's they?
The companies that we lock in with, because they ask us that. Because what happens is that the other way, hey, but we had happy we locked in. I think at 80.
Purchased, yeah.
I guess you lock in with them, then they lock in. It just works its way up.
Well, they have to lock in with less than they lock
Yeah.
in with us, or else they're not going to make any money. So yeah. So right now, as I said, our NC consultants, it's fluctuating too much.
And they have no skin in the game. The energy consultant's an independent.
No, we pay them a contract.
I know, but
yeah.
we pay them, but
Right.
they're independent
They're
of the.
absolutely- exactly.
They're not the supplier.
Absolutely
That's right.
independent, and based upon the market he sees, he's still telling us. We have to lock in before June 30th, obviously. So if that's the case, we're going estimates through the contract. Through it.
We should have a meeting. We'll talk about it when we get to board communications. But I'm thinking if everyone's available around the holidays and it works, if people are away, we could wait till early January and have just a workshop setting around a table. And of course, everything we do is open to the public, but it won't be a formal meeting like this, just a workshop.
Well,
You wouldn't.
I
You wouldn't
learned this one today.
the energy
but
contract.
the energy
Yeah.
stuff, I think,
You wouldn't- yeah.
the next time I think we have a call with them will be after the holidays, so early.
Yeah,
because,
I was going to say.
because obviously we know the self-insurance number now. The next,
Energy, yeah.
yeah.
Bring that up later.
And also, at the Self-Insurance Committee meeting, just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, that your vice chairman to your right made fun of my tie. So I just wanted you to
You only get to do it once a year, right?
I think
You only
the-
wear that around the seasonal?
Chris, my beautiful 12 days.
It's a
of Christmas
seasonal tie, so
And he made fun of it.
Oh, wait until Easter.
On the record, he made fun of it.
if we put a shadow box on the green, we're going to ask you for that tie to go in it.
You can have that, sure. I'll donate it.
And then he won't make fun of you, he'll make fun of the shadow box on the green.
I did correct the record to say that.
This was
like-
before, however, we had the news from the consultant about the,
Yeah.
Yeah, all the jovialness
There were no
ended after
jokes.
that.
that ended after
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Okay, anything on economic strike?
No, we haven't met. We only meet on an as-needed basis.
Are there minutes of that meeting? Someone had asked me.
Yes, there are.
Mr. Perillo and Mr. Perillo. Sometimes the meetings aren't, as Tony just mentioned, periodic. So what they have to do is they go on the town website, go under agendas and minutes, pop in Economic Strike Committee.
Okay. And the minutes on other meetings are posted? We don't have any,
The same way, yeah.
everything is,
Kathy's office is very good. They'll
Okay.
notify me if they don't get them within, say, 20 to 50. Less than that, they'll know. Sometimes, most committees don't have a professional
Right.
stenographer, so it's usually the staff member or the chair who takes.
okay, some of these liaison groups. Investment Committee, do we know anything? I mean, I think we had our discussion last time,
Yeah.
right? He only does it a quarter, I'll just say nothing at this point. Anything from the Board of Fire Commissioners? Mr. Pocock, you were reading the minutes over there.
No.
It's all budgetary. It's all budgetary.
I'd be happy to see that because
I expect, I
Talking
I
about
expected
that.
to, I expect the two chiefs to just. Happy to do mutual aid with each.
I brought it up because I wasn't sure of it, even though I did.
But everything is budgetary now. What I'm hearing tonight, I'm not sure what's.
Well, they right now they're in good shape. I'm happy to say that, considering they're
Yeah.
very busy. Yeah, but they.
Still on schedule, next September.
But all the new ones, I mean, I've talked to various people. Yeah. So I mean, it's
The
everything.
pumpers were what, 6:30 or?
They were, they're in the 8s and 9s now.
Average pumpers at least.
I mean,
Ladder trucks,
I have to say that
million
they're
two,
doing a
million
good
three.
job up there, so.
Did we ever get our report on the accidents?
I'm working on that. I'm working on actually good starting point, good breaking point, I guess, on a couple of items, and I'm in the middle of both of them. The accident report. Actually, I'm just waiting for some information back from one department, to do this year up through whatever time frame, November, might as well, and last fiscal year. So there weren't as many as I thought.
We
but-
were just getting, or.
It's just gonna be a
some members were getting
summary.
Confused because you see
Yeah.
the claim come, you're like, what truck is that? Is that the same
Correct.
one? Is it two accidents? Is
Yep.
it one? I think we just need to know.
You and I will get that out to you. I was trying to get that to you for tonight, and I just
Because unlike the
do
other,
it.
vehicle claims we see, that every time a fire truck's apparatus is involved, it's expensive.
sure it is. yeah.
Other things,
absolutely. Yeah.
if you see a police car or something else, usually it's a couple $1,000s, and
You'll see one here tonight, the animal control.
But also too, and I do owe the sewer committee and the head of that, Mr. Morrison, the liaison, a little analysis. I just and which I've started, but I just have not been able to finish it yet.
okay. Any other committee reports? Anybody else go to another meeting they wanted to report something back on? Okay, board communications. We do have to talk about our calendar 2023, and I just want to add on there that workshop I mentioned earlier. I think there's an appetite for just a workshop to know what's coming our way. I think with the public too, the more we could communicate up front, the less, nobody likes a surprise, except at Christmas time. The more we could communicate up front, the better we'll be, especially when it comes to the budget, what's going on, what people could expect. And I know we won't know everything. We can't come up with a number without the grand list, but we could know what issues we have to wrestle. Okay, any board communications before we get into the 2023 calendar?
Actually, I just wanted to ask. Town council on how to address, say, at least one facet of the school. It was kind of intriguing. So. We're not going to spend any money on it.
Well, no, that's not true. But I could briefly
right.
talk about it. I felt, and I still feel that unlike the other avenues where we talked about, DOE is doing their capital, et cetera, like they're supposed to do. I felt, and I spoke to the superintendent, we, the town of Southington, were the proponent of and going to bond for that field. So I felt an obligation on the town side not to have the Board of Ed use that as their capital. I thought that was the town's responsibility when it came to actually repairing it. So what I did is I presented to the, well, first of all, Mr. DeFeo and Mr. LaPre worked really hard to get me some estimates for it. The estimates were, I'll say, $599,000. I added 10% contingency, 15% escalation. We subtracted what's in the fund. Some of you remember we established a fund. When all said and done, the fund will have in it 3 years from now, when the experts tell us that the field has to be done, we will need approximately, let's say, 155 times 3. Because what I did is I broke up the remainder and I put into, and I suggested to the council to allow me to set aside $155,000 for the next 3 years. Vacation money, whatever. So that 3 years from now, that plus the fund will be enough to do the turf field, and we won't have to hit the taxpayers. We don't have to go to bonding on it, and that just leaves one small thing out of this big puzzle that you'll see come to the council on the 9th of January. The superintendent has already presented his first read capital budget to his board. He's going to, between the first read and the second read, he's going to report to the council on the 9th. It's going to be an extensive thing. We all know that. We all know it's the fields, it's the new school, the roofs, all that will be involved in there. But he, of course, will present that to the town council, which he's already presented. If you want to see it, you can watch the council meeting. The minutes are there. I mean, if you want to do it beforehand. But he's going to explain it to the council. The council is then going to talk to him about timing on everything, whether you and how you fund it, which is the biggest thing. And he'll go back to his board. His board has to finalize the capital budget, and as you know, that will come to you in February. I forget the exact date, but it's in here somewhere. They will present the budget to you in February during your. That's what I spoke with the council about.
Intendant planning on doing anything? What we've approved, like this, for instance, and obviously the plan for the schools.
The council has asked the superintendent through look at the projects that conspire the $17 million, figure out what is a safety aspect, what is the Title IX aspect, and put that forward as to timing. We all understand that the Title IX issue is the one that we're driving force for the softball. That being said, I believe, and the superintendent will everything but lights will be covered under the current number. As for the lights, the question becomes, is that a Title IX issue? And that's really up to the particular case. I think from a Title IX standpoint, we're in decent shape. From a safety standpoint, we're not. The track is in terrible shape. The tennis courts are not in good shape. So these things, even though the referendum didn't pass, they're not going to go away. So the question becomes, with this board's help, with the town council's help, and the Board of Education, all working together, how do we get those things done, and how do we fund them? It's not going to be an easy task. And going on top of what we all just talked about, on top of self-insurance.
Still have superintendents. Still have to do the schools.
It's not. It's the superintendent makes recommendations.
Yeah,
it's the Board of Education that makes the decision, and I think we all feel that that to be done in the next several years. how do you spread them out? Those are
Yeah,
really what we
okay.
talk about.
Oh, so it's the
Once
same.
again,
Okay,
it's the same issues. The issues haven't gone away.
Right, okay.
The schools, perfectly blunt, Kelly, Zaranowski, and I think we all agree that Kelly has to be redone. I mean, that's really up to this board, the Board of Education in town. Eventually, up to the citizens.
Those items, Tony, were all in the.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, he
I know.
knows.
The
I
SIP
know they were, yeah,
portion.
but they presented.
Yeah.
I think that we all
60 million, I think.
we all understand that the public has made it perfectly clear they want brought. I think we all got that. We all know it. I mean, if you got anything from public wants us to do.
Okay,
Mr.
The-
Chairman,
yeah.
if we can, because we were just reminded before the meeting by our assistant town clerk, can we get a vote of the board on the meeting schedule for 2013 calendar?
We'll do 2023 this time.
2023? What did I say?
2013.
2023. I lost those 10 years. As well as the budget workshop items that are in your packet, and we will probably, if there is a workshop that everyone would like to have,
we will.
we can post that as
we'll
a
have a
special.
discussion. Let's have a discussion
We can have
first
a,
before.
but we could also post that as a special meeting as well. So,
Okay.
because I was under a 30-day deadline,
Okay.
and if your first regular meeting in 2023 is January 11th, I had to post that with the town clerk by December 11th, which I did after discussing it and sending
Gotcha.
it to you. But now Sandy reminds us that you should take a vote on it.
Okay, and we will. I just want to have a little discussion on it first. And every item to me looked okay. The only item that was a bit of a challenge, but it's okay, is Wednesday, November 8th. That's an election year. Tuesday, the 7th, is the election day.
Yeah.
The question to the board is, do we want to meet the day after? It's fine if we do.
I changed it. I
You
changed it to the
changed
15th. The
Oh, I
following,
didn't see that.
The following went. Yep.
So the
I
new-
know. I think I sent you an email back.
Yeah, I remember
saying-
you said we
Yep.
would. I just didn't
We'll take
see
care
it
of
here
it,
when
yeah.
I printed it.
Yeah, it's going to be a new board.
Yeah, it'll be I just figured give it a week to.
Could be a new board, could be new chair, vice chair. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a very good suggestion. I appreciate it.
It hasn't been the last one.
What?
It hasn't been the last couple of
times.
I haven't had to change the station here for this board in
Yeah, it
years.
has. Yeah, it's usually the day after.
If that's good or bad.
But a week gives it some time to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Consistency.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very consistent.
Let's go with that.
Any issues with the calendar as proposed, starting with that Wednesday, January 11th,
No.
and moving forward? Okay,
To,
Second.
You don't need to change it.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
already
it's
been
already
changed.
been-
It's changed as presented.
As presented.
So, as presented, yeah. And then if you want a workshop, we could always schedule a special meeting. Just give me 2 days' notice so we can post that with the clerk as well.
let's, if you can, just make a note, just propose it to the board and see what works.
I-
Let's go for early January, maybe that first week. Let's get through let's see, the 11th, I don't know where, let me quickly look at my calendar.
What if I send an email out tomorrow morning to all the members with
Is
regards
there-
to their availability?
Is there much business for the?
On January 11th, because it's very.
We could start,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what your schedules are, but you can start early or.
If you want it, yeah,
I know
you
that-
mean.
I know that Joe and John have issues.
Do the 11th
Starting
at
early.
6, or?
I always look at Joe because he has.
No, we just pushed self-insurance to 6 p.m. In the minutes is I have to buy pizza personally.
On the 11th.
That is in the minutes.
That will be reflected in the
So we won't-
minutes.
I could do, yeah.
We won't be starting at 6 o'clock on the 11th, and self-insurance is on the 11th.
Oh, no, sorry. I was saying we pushed we just pushed self-insurance to start now at 6 p.m.
Oh,
versus
okay.
5:30. We just made that change. So later is always better, but that works for me.
So why don't we do a 6 o'clock
Yeah.
workshop at the 11th then?
6 o'clock
Yeah.
workshop on the 11th.
Yeah.
And we'll just try and go quick. So 6
Yeah,
to
yeah.
7, the agenda will quickly be just to lay out the items that are going to be a headwind or a tailwind.
Yeah, and then do meeting immediately there.
Meeting-
Don't say 7 o'clock,
Yep.
immediately thereafter.
Yeah.
So we don't have to sit here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Joe gets pizza, I have hour to eat.
I will get pizza.
Oh, thank you very much.
I will get pizza.
Thank you.
All right.
Joe doesn't show up to like 3/4 of the self-insurance committee meetings either, so there's pizza that,
Thank you.
it's phantom
Appreciate
pizza.
that. Appreciate
Let's make
that.
sure we just get that notice out to
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Mrs.
Never
Oni
should have
and
made that
Mr.
pie
Bedoin.
comment.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's take a vote on it. Somebody want to make a motion on the 2023 calendar as,
We had that in a second.
oh, we had it in
Yeah.
a second? Okay, let's do a roll call vote then for Jim.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Lebenik,
Yes.
Mr. Pocock,
Yes.
Mr. Morrison,
Yes.
Chairman Larry.
Yes.
Motion passes
You have-
4-0.
Calendars, you got your calendar.
Yep.
Okay, I see no public communications unless Sandy doesn't want to get involved.
Rather remain anonymous. Turn the camera around.
I mean, just a point for the camera, we do meet in public, and if anybody would like to come down and join us for our meeting, we're more than welcome to have people come, and we're more than welcome to have comments. And we miss the days when people would come up and address us, good and bad, and have comments or thoughts or observations, and we'd like to see that come back. So we meet, we've got plenty of chairs in here, and we welcome people to come out. If you can't come out, you could always email or call an individual member with a question, but it is nice to come to a public meeting, stand up and voice an opinion, so we welcome everybody to come. Since we don't have anyone, we move into discussion regarding the audit.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, I applied for an extension with the state of Connecticut for several reasons. First of all was when I got here in September. Thank you. There was some issues with regards to the work that was audit related was nowhere near completion. And I don't want to get too detailed because it might have to evolve into an executive session type of deal, but I don't want to get into that. But rest assured, we've got a fantastic treasurer doing the job now. She was a former employee of the department. She's caught us up on many things with regards to the audit. On top of that, they were supposed to come in early October. So I spoke to the partner at the firm, and I know her a little bit professionally. And they couldn't reschedule us till early December. So that's when I grabbed Mark and I said, we've got it because you need the CEO's approval to apply for the state for an extension. So which we've done, and we were approved. Now, unfortunately, the audit firm had a 2-week delay. They're supposed to be here 2 weeks ago, and they're coming tomorrow. They've been here. They've been here doing some peripheral work. They've done some work, vouching and expenditure testing here at the school board, compliance work at the school board for some of the grants, et cetera, et cetera. But they still have quite a bit of their audit work to do. So I'll be meeting with them tomorrow. They're going to come in mass here. And we'll reevaluate then. But we're in really good. I'll tell you, the staff is great. The books are in really good shape. I don't want to let anybody leave here and then I think of that. Just things were not done that were purportedly said to have been done when it comes to the audit, and I don't want to go any further with that right now. But we are getting there, and we're looking forward to. Working with our CPAs. They're a very good firm. Unfortunately, they were purchased by another firm, Clifton Larson Allen. I don't know if you've ever dealt with them, John, in your profession. No. CLA is what they go by. They bought out, or maybe it's a merger, with Bloom Shapiro. Bloom Shapiro was probably one of the largest, maybe the largest independent public accounting firm east of the Mississippi at one time, believe it or not. They had about 150, 175 folks just up there in their West Hartford office. And their customer service was top-notch. Loved them, loved dealing with them. They were merged and or purchased by this national firm. I don't want to call them a big four firm, but they're sort of in that playing field, and I think they want to be one of those. When we went to school, John, it was called the Big Eight. Remember? You know,
Big Eight, yeah, Big Eight.
It's
went
the
to
Big
Big
Four
Six,
now.
Went to Big
Yeah.
Four. and-
But now I think that this firm is nationwide and international. Unfortunately, what I've discovered, and being sort of away from the profession for 16, 17 months, is that a lot of the decisions that were here at the local level in West Hartford, by even but your partner engagement, are not made here. They're made at their headquarters. I think it's in, I don't know if it's in Pittsburgh or somewhere like that. So when I had to reschedule, the partner in charge had to literally send that to corporate. And there's a scheduler, as she called her, or called him, to reschedule their staffing. So it's not even done in West Hartford anymore. I'll get a little more clarification on that. And then I know she's had some challenges as well. I think what's happening with a lot of in the job market is also happening in public accounting, and I never would have thought that. But they're having trouble finding, I mean, as a whole, and I read this in the Journal of Accountancy just a few months ago, and I never would have thought the CPA firms would have a hard time with hiring people. But I guess especially young folks who are graduating from college, that was like one of your goals. You did your time in purgatory, it was called, like 5 years in public accounting, and I think John Leary is laughing because he knows.
Yeah,
what
you do. Yeah,
You did your
4 or 5 years and you get
did
out.
your 4 or 5 years and you get out before they kill you. But now it seems as though that there are, especially the larger firms that demand a lot of time and energy and hours, are not attracting like they used to. And I remember interviewing for a couple Big Eight firms right on the campus of CCSU. Many
Yeah, they used to hire in classes and
They
tell
used to
people
come into
wait till
cla-
next year.
yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
They you'd stand in line almost like waiting for concert tickets to
They were the sought-after jobs.
I don't want to say the Beatles because I'm not that old, but maybe Tony remembers.
First thing I think
you
of
know.
accountants and Beatles are usually the same.
Yeah,
same-
exactly. But that's so there's some issues there. But they were supposed to have been here a couple weeks, a week and a half or so ago to start. And the partner called me and I said, "Well, yeah, of course. We are the problem with the first delay, and I don't want to pass that buck to anyone other than what was here when I got here." And that's through no fault of the staff, current or even the emeritus, as we're calling Amelia, who's still doing a little consulting, who's still helping us out a couple of days a week. But anyway, with that, if there's any questions, please, again,
Okay.
don't hesitate to call.
So when would the audit be finished, do you think?
I'm hoping,
Previous year.
Tony, I am hoping, and I spoke when the partner called me to say she had to reschedule. I said, "Gosh," I said, "I hope I really need to have this done by the end of January." Because that's when the extension.
Oh, yeah.
There's a process whereby you can file for another extension, which the town did last year. I think the audit wasn't done till late February. I don't want to do that, and if the staff has worked a little bit of overtime here and there to get things ready, and just a reprioritization of things, and they've done really good, and they've done great at it. But it's just a matter of some things that
We don't want to file a second extension, I guess. Is the
Okay.
answer.
we're going to try to avoid, Tony. But I can't tell you right now because I don't know what CLA's process is.
Okay.
I know Bloom Shapiro, if we were ready with them and they were happy with what they had, and they had all the other parts of the audit that go along, not just the numbers, they would probably turn around a draft report within 3 or 4 days. That's how good they were. I'm hearing other things about this firm. That takes much longer, but anyway.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move into our, if there's no more board communications, move into our consent agenda. In the consent agenda, again, this is money received that just has to be appropriated back to the right department, the right line item to spend it. I just like to read them all, then we'll get into discussion about the issues, and then we'll approve it all in total. So the first one's an appropriation for $31,506 for the National Opioid Settlement. That's going into program services, special revenue. The next one is an appropriation for $660 for the Police Canine Program for supplies. The next one's $290 for Public Works Highway property maintenance and signs. And the next one, the last one, is $21,698 to the police department for vehicle maintenance loss damage. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, a discussion. You could tell us about the animal control.
Yeah, animal control vehicle was in an accident. This vehicle was planned on being replaced. In fact, it's already in our capital to replace it for $58,000. It's going to cost a little bit more than $58,000 because everything costs a little bit more nowadays. But good news is unlike the other vehicle that we were looking at, which had a long range, several month lead time, this one is available for us now. So I gave the chief the green light to move forward with the truck, which is already budgeted in our capital. This money will be appropriated to add on to the cage, which is necessary to put onto the truck, and a couple of other small things for a total of about $14,000 of the $58,000 to get the truck to where we need to. The truck is going to cost us somewhere. This part of this money that's being appropriated back into the line will be used to increase.
So this is a total truck in a way?
That the truck is no longer operable.
Okay.
That's such a word.
So it's a net $50,000. So 58 plus 14 minus 22, about 50 grand net.
I'm sorry, say it again.
58 plus 14 to outfit it,
Yeah.
minus 22 is 50. No?
No.
No, okay, wait.
58 we have in the capital budget. That's going to
Yeah.
be used for the truck. There's an additional, say, 14,000 on top of the 58 to get to the truck what it has to be. So that number, this will offset the difference between those two. So we have 58 in the capital. We're going to use a portion of this to get up to the 72, right? So that's 14,000.
Yeah.
So the net going in will be 21 and change minus the 14,000.
Kind of said the same thing,
Okay.
but okay.
I'm not an
Right?
accountant.
Did you add it up, Joe? 58 plus 14 minus 22?
Is that what we did?
I think so, but I'm not. I don't want to get it on this right here. This is between you
Well,
guys.
I don't read the.
I'm
what was-
staying
what
out of
was it
this.
called? I didn't read that magazine called what, Weekly Accounting or
I'm
whatever. it
staying
was.
out of this.
Journal of Accounts.
Yeah.
We have a net amount. Yes, that's correct.
58 plus 14 minus 22 is 50. Okay,
I'll go with you, Mr.
all right,
We have enough money to buy the new truck, but
all right. We need to, I mean, we have a lot of
Despite
animal issues. We need the truck. There's no doubt, right?
Do I have to do
Common.
anything?
and that truck will be on the report that Mr. Bose gives you next.
Well, we didn't ask for police apparatus, but that, I guess
We're going to give you everything.
that's a big one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, a second. We had some discussion. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Consent agenda carries 4-0. The next one, we have a few transfers and a couple appropriations. Number one is $20,000 in human resources for legal fees, a transfer.
I'll wait for a moment.
Make a motion to.
Second. Oh, yeah, second.
Motion by Mr. Pocock, second by
Yeah, I second it.
Tony.
Yeah, we are in the process of negotiating 3 contracts all at the same time. We just voted on the town hall union, which includes our individual staff. Hopefully finishing up soon the public works and
3-year contracts?
well, the first one we did was a 4-year contract. That was for the et cetera. We're can't get into specifics about public work. 3 contracts means labor.
Okay.
They buy the pizza.
Any discussion?
Not yet.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstain. A carries 4-0. B is in 3 parts. It's a transfer. $8,000 election department program supplies, $1,200 election department advertising, and $2,300 election department dues and conferences.
I'll make a motion to.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
This is obviously the program supplies. If you recall, you probably received at least 2, if not 3 notices in the mail telling you where your voting districts were.
Yep.
That's where that's where the supplies came from. We also did advertising for that, and then after discussion with our elections division, I felt it very important that they immediately discuss getting their certification, and that's what the dues and conference.
Okay, want to do the elections right. A lot of communicating, never enough, and it costs a lot.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstain. B carries 4-0. C is an appropriation from the ARPA, the ARPA money, $50,935 to Public Works for the rec park improvements.
Make a motion to approve 1,935 for public in regards to rec park.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
This is obviously the parks plan, which we all approved of. This is a step I bring to you to vote on. Because it's ARPA, I want to make sure that whoever has to do this audit 10 years from now has a track of each
And a
one we
voice,
did.
and a roll call.
Exactly, yep.
So let's take the next one together, then we'll do a roll call vote on both of them.
And the next one's not ARPA, though. So
Oh, okay, oops, no, it's not.
It's lot
Right.
zip, yeah.
All right, let's do C. Let's do a voice vote on the $50,935 Public Works Rec Park using the ARPA improvement funds.
Sure. Mr. Pocock.
Yes.
Surprised you, didn't I? Mr. Morrison.
Yes.
Mr. Lebenik.
Yes.
Chairman John Leary.
Yes.
Carries 4-0.
Okay. Next one, D. Appropriation $1,425,600. Public Works, the Marion Avenue Bridge from the LOT CIP.
Yeah. Motion to approve the appropriation request for the Marion Avenue Bridge.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I don't often give them their due, but this is one where our state taxes come back to Southington. This is a lots of funding for the state from the state of Connecticut and the federal government back to the town of Southington. Without this program, we could never get our bridges in shape. So thank you to both of them.
And they could thank all of us for paying our taxes to them.
I was trying to be nice.
I think we are net taxpayers in the state of Connecticut, and
For the
everybody
record, I was trying to be nice.
and everybody in Southington deserves credit for that, and we appreciate getting some of that back. But
I hit a nerve.
let it be known we are net taxpayers in Connecticut, and we're proud of that. And
I tried.
Well, we're not exactly proud of it.
we recognize.
We recognize.
Tax us more. Tax us more.
So it is nice, though. We will get a new bridge, and people will enjoy it. So,
Correct.
with that said, do we have to do a vote?
All in favor is fine. on that.
All in favor? Who's in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Carries 4-0. And that's well, I got to finish the story. I don't want to leave it as a half of a joke. But that is the reason a lot of people will say, why do you take grants if you're opposed to all this spending? Why do you accept federal funds? Why do you accept state funds if you complain that there's wasteful spending, that this spending, shouldn't happen? It's only going to come back and we're going to have to pay for it later. And I think the big answer is that we do pay state tax as a community, individually, and we do pay federal tax. Again, Southington residents and businesses pay federal tax. So, to not take something that comes our way, we pay for it anyway. So we might as well pay and get something than to pay and stand on some principle and not take something back. It just makes sense that we do that. The bigger issue is, what the taxes should be, and that's a whole topic for, another discussion. But when something comes our way, we do take it knowing, we will or have paid for it. Okay, enough said. Get to item E. Item E is the last one. It's an appropriation for $89,440 for the Board of Education operations.
Motion to approve?
I'll second it.
Anyway,
18 years ago?
18 years ago.
2004. The agreement was that actually, you guys know this, but for the public, the Board of Education has its buildings and it uses it for sometimes rent out to third-party agents. Also gets reimbursement for special. Decided back then that periodically they'd come back to the board.
And we've had this explained to us by the Board of Ed on several occasions.
Yep.
But it's good. It's always good to remind ourselves.
You and me for 13
Yeah.
years of those 18.
We're 13 of the 18. We've heard it. But okay, we're just giving back money they've charged people, and we understand that. So, any discussion? Do we have a motion?
You had a motion.
I had a motion.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. No more discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carries 4-0, item E. And then the last one, manager's year-to-date budget transfers per the charter. No vote, no new items.
No one's asked, so I haven't given any money.
Okay.
That's the one for, obviously, I have the authority to give dollars and from one transfer to another with the.
Okay, so now we are at 8:11. Do we have our favorite motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned, 8:11 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yep, happy holidays. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.